Thanks everyone for joining this morning. So, just to introduce myself, my name is Israel Kutcher. I manage the product team for the discovery products here at Exlibris, Primo and Summon, and a few other things. Today we're going to be talking about Primo and specifically Primo with Alma. So we'll talk a bit about what Primo and Primo with Alma is, what it comes to do differently. We'll highlight some of the main capabilities and we'll demo some of them kind of to tie the theory into it and actually let you see some things. And then we'll leave you with some resources if you're interested to go and look at some more information. And of course, as Scott said, we're definitely here to answer as many questions as you may have. So we'll start kind of, top down and look at the broader picture. What we've been doing at Exlibris over the past 10 or so years is really building a platform, a cloud platform, the Exlibris Higher Education platform, which really deals with multiple areas: the student and learning area, research and discovery, which Primo is in, and the library management side of things, which is where Alma comes in. What does that platform actually mean? So as opposed to building separate point solutions, as the world has been doing in the past, we've built a platform. The platform has a lot of core services which are shared. Things like the technical actual servers and the data models and databases and so on. Accessibility and the guidelines about UX and how to work with mobile. There's a lot of shared content, a lot of shared and reuse of content, again, where relevant between the different applications. And of course, all sitting in a multi-tenant SaaS environment. And then on top of this platform, we have the different applications. There are applications here that cater to the staff and the management of the library, such as Alma. There are elements here. Rialto as well goes into helping staff purchase materials for the library. We have Primo and Summon, which are discovery systems. We have Leganto, which is a course material. And again, we've got multiple different applications here. Not all the applications are necessarily needed by all institutions, but definitely some institutions might be interested in one or more of these. And again, this platform really lets us build applications much faster because again, we have that shared baseline that we can build on top of. So let's drill down into what we're talking about today, and that is Alma and Primo. So on the left-hand side, we have kind of where the world was and what the legacy environments look like. We have on the one hand side, we've got multiple systems that the admin users, that the library staff use to manage their resources. So we have an ILS, we have a link resolver, ERM potentially, in multiple or one or more local repositories for digital materials. Where typically each one of these systems manage a different type of material. So ILS typically for the print, again, not solely, but it's kind of was designed for print material, link resolver, and so on. And on top of that, we had a discovery system. So from the end user perspective, we've already, quite a long time ago, Primo was born in 2007. So again, quite a long time ago, discovery systems came along, and from the end user perspective, we've kind of tried to mask all those different systems that we have from the end user, and the discovery system would load all the data in and show it in one place to the end user. On the right-hand side is where we are today. So we have Alma that comes to replace all the management side of things. So in one system, you'd manage your print, your electronic, your digital management. You would purchase material, again, from within the same system. You could purchase a book or a journal. You would be guided there to say, is this physical or is this electronic? Is this one time or is this an ongoing type of subscription? And there are different flows, depends on what you're doing, but again, all managed from within the same place. And what's different here is kind of we've drawn Primo here really touching and connected to Alma, as opposed to a separate system where, as in the past, it was a complete separate system, complete separate databases. They had to, all the data had to move from the source systems to Discovery. We'll show you a lot of things that we can gain by actually making them, much closer than ever before. So let's look at what these benefits are, what we can actually gain from this. Sorry, what we can actually gain from having Alma and Primo together. So I'll start with the left. So the very basic is the system administration, and I can tell you that probably about 7 years ago, when we first announced, it was actually in a conference in North America that I was at, we announced that we're planning to make this integration between Alma and Primo and kind of have one administration. And we got cheers from the crowd. I mean, that alone, even before we got to the other functionality that this might bring, was huge. Having the Discovery managed from within the same menus and the same system as the rest of the library was huge. It means it's the same look and feel. It means you don't have to learn a new language, a new system, but you can manage it all from the same place. It means you can actually go and reuse things, right? So if today you have a new library that you're managing within your ILS, you have a new music library. Again, the Discovery system today doesn't know that you have a new music library. It doesn't know to even display that you have a music library. You have to somehow teach it, write normalization rules or something like that. Now, again, all you need to do is to, again, you've set up your your new music library in Alma. Primo already knows that you have a music library. It already knows automatically that any book that has holdings in that music library, it knows to display it as music library. It will allow you immediately, without any real need of configuration, to say, I want to allow my users to only search the music library and not search it or search it independently from other things. So again, really reusing information. Things like authentication, which you can set up once and use for both in the staff management side of things as well as in the end user. The next is just one more thing about the administration. It's not that one user has to necessarily manage everything. It's that they can manage everything. Alma is role-based, so you'll have a staff whose role might be acquisitions. They can be set up to only have the acquisition role and only see the acquisition area. You might have a cataloger, they might only be seeing the cataloging area, and you'll have the discovery admin who will be seeing the discovery menu. Or you could have a user that has multiple roles, but again, it's all from within the same system. Next is one of the bigger things is really a change to what it means to to create new resources and then discover them. Typically, in the way that source systems and discovery used to work, is that you create a new record, you catalog a new record, or load a new record into your source system. It takes half a day or a day until that is visible in to the end user in the discovery system. Right, we needed to, once we finish cataloging it, we would save it. Once a day or a few times a day, you would have a job on the source system that will push this bib record out, typically via something like FTP or OAI or something. And then you would have a job on the discovery system, again, once a day, multiple times a day, to pick up those change records, load them into their own database, index them, and basically from when you cataloged it until when the end user sees it, it's half a day to a day. And there's potentially a lot of moving parts that you would want to monitor and make sure that they, that they did their job and finished on time for that next step to come. What we've done here is we've really made a change here where any new records that are loaded or added into Alma are seen and indexed in Primo within about 15 minutes. And any records that are changed, an existing record where you go in and change metadata, these are seen immediately. We'll take a look at that in the demo, but really the difference between half a day to a day and needing to monitor this to actually having something happening automatically within minutes is a huge change. Next, and again, we'll kind of try and show all of these. is the integrated advanced patron services. So once a user has actually found the record that is interested in Primo, we want them to have, to do everything from within the one place. We don't want them to need to hop around, go out to the link resolver for electronic, or go to a different page for another form to request it, but rather have everything managed from the end user perspective in one system. And this includes also the library card, where they go and see what they've requested, what fines they've have, renew loans or cancel requests, and so on. So this is all managed within Alma. In Alma, the user is actually that loan is gonna take place, or the policies in terms of use, what we're going to allow each book and each user group to do, that's all managed in Alma. But again, the end user is all going to see it kind of as in one screen in Primo. The enhanced discovery experience is kind of a step back from the services, but it's, what ways can we actually make the discovery experience better? So other than just searching and finding results, which is kind of the very basics of discovery, what other things can we offer? So this is things like different types of recommendations. We'll take a look at. There's different types of material which you might want to allow discovery slightly different. You've got some unique special materials which you want to allow to be discovered in a different way. Journals you might want to show in a different way. And again, really more and more ways to kind of, once the user accesses the system, they might know the search term, they might even know a specific book and know an item that they're looking for, or they might just know the topic and they're looking for things in that topic. But once they've actually started searching and finding something, can we educate them and help them through their path and actually give them more materials as well? And last but not least, for any of you out there that are a member of a consortia, Alma and Primo were designed for consortia. We have, again, we've got small single sites, community colleges, bigger colleges. We have some big single sites as well, and we have consortias of very different types. We have consortias that are, very small consortia of very few members. We have consortia of, tens of members, and consortia of, over 100 members. And these members can be of different sizes as well. So again, there's different types of models that allow different things for consortia, whether viewing one another's materials, again, for the institutions that you want to allow such things, different types of resource sharing, different types of shared cataloging and things like that. So let's kind of look into a few of these examples, and then we'll try and kind of connect it with a demo. So as I mentioned, the unified administration, just a single admin interface. Again, it's much simpler. You don't need another login. You don't need another system and understanding, where do I change labels for, every system is different and the terminology is different. And really one place to configure, and, whatever relevant you can reuse and not have to redo again. My example before was authentication or new library. I'll show you, something that is very tightly integrated is, for example, the option that a staff member can actually find a record in Alma because he's a cataloger or because he's working in Alma for whatever reason, and it doesn't need to go and remember the URL for the discovery system or start typing the ISBN or something to actually find it there. From every record within Alma, you can click and say, let's see this record in discovery. So you can do some changes to metadata, or it might be a reference librarian who happen to be, more used to working in Alma, and they want to help an end user. Then again, they can click and see that record in Primo, and again show that patron that they're helping with. And last is the sync releases. Again, this is a part of the higher education platform. So sync releases, if we develop something, again, we can release it together. It means from the staff that are managing the systems, they don't need to expect different cycles about when is which release coming. It's all happening, again, all made public ahead of time about the exact release cycle, and all the release notes are made available at the same time. And again, they can go and view the release notes they want, but again, it's all much simpler to use, and again, in expected times. The real-time discovery. So again, we mentioned displaying new and change records. You can do things like creating a search scope instantly. So if you want to create a search scope to only search the music library or search the music library and the law library, again, in the past, you had to write some kind of rule in the discovery system and typically reload or reindex the data. This can be done again in an instant. You can basically just create a search scope. I want to search my law library. Again, we know that you have a law library because it's again sitting on the same system, and basically moving a lot of these things from kind of index time to query time. It just means that you will create a search scope, and we will again, when the user searches in that search scope for the law library, we will tell it only take this keyword and only search it for records that have holdings in the law library. Similar with local fields. Again, display fields or local fields, if you want to now index or display a 900 field or 500 field, again, you just set it up and it's available immediately. You don't need to reload or republish or reindex anything. And we'll take a look at that in the demo as well. Again, really different than in the past, where again, any type of change, you would need to push out that data and wait for that full cycle of half a day to a day. The patron services that we mentioned. So again, one of the big advantages of Alma is managing both the print and electronic and potentially digital within the same place. So every record that we open up, we can immediately show the user we have this both electronic and physical. You don't have to kind of go to a link resolver or something to actually get the links to that. There's a patron library card, again, which shows all the interactions that the patron has with the library. And this is also the link resolver itself. So if you look at a flow of coming from an external database, Google Scholar, for example, and again, using the typical open URL. So what will open will be the Primo page. So it looks exactly the same as what the user is used to searching. It's not another interface that the users need to understand, wait a second, what's going on here? What do I click to get the full text? It actually looks the same. And again, because we're managing both electronic and physical in the same place, then we will also be showing the user the electronic and also the physical services that are relevant for that article. So if it's an article that you happen to have both online access to and also physically on the shelf, we'll show the user, yes, here it's available online from these vendors that we subscribe to. And by the way, it's also on the shelf in the periodicals room. You can go and get it there if you happen to be on campus. The Primo interface is very, very flexible out the box. So again, the very basics of changing your look and feel and, having the facets on the left or on the right, these are things that are very simply out the box to change. But what Primo also allows is really to really go in and customize anything you want on the page. So you can do this doing code, write JavaScript code, and basically every element on the page has like an after element, so you can hook on many places on the page. You can hook this code of yours in, as well as we have something called Primo Studio, which is really an option for people that aren't necessarily that techy to go in and very simply, change the colors, add things, add apps that other people have written, and enhance and add things to the interface itself, and completely change it from what it looks like out the box, and add functionalities that go out, do some kind of code, bring information out, push information out, link out to other services if needed. And again, a lot of sites have done this. And again, we have a very active community of people that have developed this and are very happy to help one another. Other things that we mentioned before is more and more, again, in addition to just searching and finding results, we want to again give different types of contextual relationships and different kind of recommendations to the users based on different things. We'll take a look at a few of these. The hierarchic discovery of collections, again, this is something that helps the library expose their unique material. The library often has, again, in addition to just the let's say the typical stuff that's on the shelf, they often have some material that they want to expose differently, and not just, again, finding this material in the search, which it's there as well, but also allow exposing it and giving it kind of a highlight, especially if it is in a structure of some kind of a hierarchical collection of sub-collections and in items. And last, again, especially important for these types of material, these unique materials, the ability to expose these materials from Primo to Google in an SEO-friendly way. Again, those of you that might be members of a consortia, and again, I'm using kind of the word consortia here quite loosely. I mean, there's different types and different models of consortia. There's consortia that just want to, share resources with one another. There are institutions that aren't necessarily associated, but they might want to allow walk-in users to use one another systems. And there's the more connected institutions, which they actually want to have shared management of metadata or acquisitions or things like that, or even allow the end user to actually search their own institution as well as the other institutions. So all of these, again, are available and designed in the system. If you specifically want to hear more about this, then again, at the end of the session, there's a survey. Again, please indicate that you might want to hear more about this, and we'll be happy to point you to more information or future webinar as well. So we kind of talked a lot now about kind of the integration and the contact points between Alma and Primo, but what Primo offers to the end user is a lot more than that. So there's the kind of the basics, which is the library catalog and the institutional repository, whether that repository is residing in Alma, so Alma can manage digital materials, or it's residing in an external repository, DSpace or anything like that. We want to load all of that into Primo. Other things that we have is, again, we want to allow open access content, so open access content that you define as relevant to the topic or the source that is relevant for your patrons. So that's another thing that we want to allow the users. And last is all the commercial content that you subscribe to. So really, we want to allow the user in one interface, again, unless you might want to slice and dice it, which is a possibility as well. Really to have all the material that you curate. So again, your library catalog and repository, as well as anything that might be relevant out there, that's open access, and anything that you purchase for your users to use. And this is a lot of different types of material. So again, it could be articles, databases, newspaper material, references, reports, dissertations. Many sites bring in their own libguides as well to be indexed here as well, and a lot of different types. And basically what we have here is something that we call the Central Discovery Index, or CDI might be something that you've heard. And this is our index, which is kind of in parallel or in addition to your library catalog and institutional repository, which again includes 4.7 billion records. So again, the CDI really lets the library search their own material as well as everything else that's out there, the open access and vendor materials. And also having such a huge set of records allows us to start building services. And once a user finds a record, start building these connections and recommendations between the records, such as a book to book review. If the user found a book chapter, we'll connect him to other book chapters from that book, or book review for that book, and again, and different types of relationships. You control which part of CDI is relevant. So again, you can search the full 4.7 billion, even though you're not necessarily subscribed to all of it. Some sites, want to allow the users to find everything, and if it's something that they don't subscribe to, then the user will request it, and we'll try and help the user. That's kind of one option. More typically, the default is let's search only the materials that we subscribe to or open access and we can allow access to. And if the user wants, we'll let him expand beyond what we own, so he can also find things that we don't have. And then again, we can help him with that. So again, this is up to you. And again, some sites might say, no, we only want to show what we have access to. So again, all these options are, could be definitely relevant to different institutions. Let's do a quick demo and try and tie some of this in together. So I'll actually start on the admin side and kind of show a few things on the admin side and how they impact the discovery, and then kind of from there move to discovery. So this is Alma. Again, we're not going to get too deep into what everything does, but again, this is a demo environment, and what we're seeing here is different dashboards that that my user has designed to show. And here on the side, we've got the different menus. So we mentioned that Alma is role-based. I currently have multiple roles. So I have roles in acquisition and roles in discovery and so on. Again, if I might have someone who's just a discovery admin, they'll only see the discovery menu. And here are really the configuration areas that are relevant to discovery. Again, just to take a quick look, there's different areas relevant for different things. But again, if I have someone, or if I'm trying to train up my stuff, it's all within the same system. I don't have to learn a new look and feel, a new thing from the admin side. So let's start by searching for a specific title. And again, this is the admin side. So again, it looks different to what we expect an end user. Again, it's more for staff. And I wanted to start off. Let's just take this record here as an example. So I've got this record. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to show you that here, this display and discovery. So again, it could be a cataloger making a change and wants to see what it looks like. It could be a reference librarian or anyone just wanting to see what things look like. And I'll go and click that to display and discovery, and it's going to open that specific record in Primo. If, for example, I was doing the scenario that I mentioned before of a reference librarian, then they could potentially, they could search it in Primo as well, or they could start in Alma because they might be doing something else, before that the patient came to the desk, and they could show him, here you go, here's the record that you're after. They could, click the QR code. The end user would come with their phone, take a picture of it, and he has it, and he has the link to this, to go back and and take it home and do whatever he needs with. Also later, if the reference librarian does a search for him, again, you can basically QR any page that you're on, also the results page and the query page. What I wanted to show here, let's go down here and see this is a physical record. We'll sign in a second and see what we can do as a signed in user. It's in 2 different locations. And I wanted to go down here to the metadata. So what we can see here is the basic metadata that is defined to be displayed. I want to go in and make some changes and see them come across here. So let's go a second into the metadata editor itself. And this is the Alma Mark metadata editor. Let's make a few changes, and I apologize ahead of time to all those catalogers out there. I'm going to be completely playing around with things here. So let's change his name from John to Johnny, and let's change it from the 5th edition to the 8th edition. And let's say it's not 759 pages, but rather, 865 pages. I think that's enough to change now. So let's just quickly save that. And go back here and just refresh the page. And see, so now the user is Johnny. It's the 8th edition. And what else do we change? The 865 pages. Again, changes like that, again, in kind of the old paradigm, would take half a day to a day to be seen by the end user. Let's do 2 more things. Let's add a new field. Kind of, let's say my donation note here is today taken from the 977 field. It's the local field that was already defined for me. So let's add another field to take. And let's also do a change to the display. So what we can see here is that Tollander Johnny is Knight of of honor, and that comes from the subfield G. And I want to change the system. I don't want to delete the metadata, right? I'm not the cataloger now. I'm going to go into the discovery admin hat, and I don't want to display. We've discussed it. We don't want to display the subfield G. So what we'll do is two things. Let's go into, so let's first catalog a new record, a new field here. So I'll just edit here, and let's say I'll add field. I'll add a 955 field, and I'll say $$A, and we'll say was donated to celebrate Future's birthday. By the way, my birthday was earlier this week, so I'm not lying here. And so I'm adding a 955 field. So I'm adding that to the record, and let's say, let's save that for a second. Okay, so now let's go. So that's kind of now in the metadata. It's a new field in Mark. Let's go to the discovery menu and say manage and display local fields. So what we want to do is two things. One, we have a field, it's a local field called donation note, which today takes from the 977, and I wanted to add the 955 field in addition. So that's one thing I want to do. The other thing I wanted to do was get rid of the subfield G. So I'll go to creator, and I'm not going to go into the exact syntaxes of what I'm doing. I just want to show you how easy it is. But I want to change the routine of what fields we're taking, what mark fields we're taking. So I'll go into here, and again, not go into the exact details, but basically I'm editing something that today says when mark 100 has A, B, C, G, and let's remove the G here and here, and save that. Basically, we're telling the routine that kind of takes the that creates that display field what mark field or subfield is going to be taking. I just need to apply these rules. Second. Let's see if it finished and refresh the page. Okay, and what we can see is two things. One, we don't anymore see the subfield G, and we added this field that, again, a new field that we just created now. That again, we added to this specifically to the donation note. We could have added it as its own new field, and this field that came from that 955 that I created. So that's just kind of one quick thing that I want to look at, kind of at the real time and what it means to manage and maintain the metadata. And again, really, you don't need to. There's no job in the background. You don't need to see that it published or that it indexed or loaded the data. It really just happens as part of the system. Another few things that I wanted to show you is, again, related to kind of the fact that you're managing electronic and print and digital together. So I'll go to the journal search. The journal search traditionally is a piece of the traditional link resolver. And here it's kind of part of the discovery, because Alma is the link resolver and Primo is the front end for it. So as opposed to a traditional link resolver, our journal search is searching all the journals that an institution holds, again, whether print or electronic, and will indicate whether it's print or electronic, or you can, if you want, filter to only the print or only the electronic. So what we have is we can browse by category. So we can go into a specific category. So business. So again, these categories are based on the Columbia, the HILC, which is kind of the simplified Library of Congress categories, and they will populate based on the journals that you have. So if I go, it's a three-level hierarchy. So business, economics, and then I've got commerce, and then I can go and see all the journals that are related to accounting. And here the accounting journals. Let me just show an example here. Let's search for brain. And again, this is an autocomplete that is built for every institution based on the journal titles that they hold. Let's just search for brain. And again, there's some recommendations here as well. Here we can see we have brain, we have physically held in the library, and we also have it as online. Another very interesting thing here, and again, you can, if you want, you can filter to only physical versus only online. Another thing that we added, because again, the discovery system is sitting close to Alma. Again, for every type of journal, we have multiple different vendors that we potentially might subscribe to it, and they might be from different coverage. So what we have is a summary for journals. We have kind of a coverage summary, because again, when you come to an article, we know you want a specific article, from 1993. We can tell you have it or you don't have that coverage. But when I'm looking at the journal, the user has to go in to actually see that coverage. So we've summed up the coverage for him. So we can see that, if we go into here, for example, we will see, and again, this is a demo environment, so I probably don't have that many different holdings, but here, these are all, happen to be 3 that are the same, so 99 till 2008. And that was a summary that we saw here. And if we look at, including different types of limitations that we might have, so most recent year not available. And if we look at brain over here, we can see that we've got we subscribe to it, or we have access to it from 2 different vendors. We have it from 1878 until current, and we have it from 96. So it calculates kind of the full range. So this range, 1978 actually includes this one. So all we're going to see is the 1978, but you might have different broken ranges as well. So it will calculate that. And this record, this journal, we also have it physically. Specifically, this is a journal that is managed as holdings, and they don't necessarily list each item separately. So it's just go to the periodicals room to get it. Another thing I want to show you is if I go here and I search, say, brainwaves, oops, then we're actually going to be searching within brain. We're going to be searching for articles that meet the term brainwaves. And when I search that, it's actually going to search in Primo Central, or I'm sorry, it's going to search a CDI. It used to be Primo Central, now it's the bigger CDI. And basically, we found articles that are in brain and meet the term brainwaves. Again, I could make a more complex search or an advanced search of I want it in the title or in the author and so on. What we can see here is we see indication that this is peer reviewed, that this is journal is open access. We can go and see the article itself, and again see the information of the article and where we subscribe to from this article. We can also see, we mentioned that we have this journal physically in the shelf, so we can actually also see that you can go to the shelf and pick it up. We have recommendations based on BX. So you found this article. You might be interested in one of these articles. This is based on usage, on worldwide usage. So worldwide researchers that used this article in the same session, they used other articles as well. They found some kind of connection. So we want to recommend that to you as well. And what I wanted to show you here is these citation trails. So another functionality is let's find resources that cited this article or that were cited in this article. So if I go to, let's say, this one's search, so resources that cited my article. So again, here's 32 articles that have cited this article in them. And again, the other way around is basically looking at the bibliography of this article and seeing which articles it had cited, when in writing this article. So again, the user had actually found the article they want, or they may have known exactly what article they're looking for, but they came and again, and we can recommend additional articles that are related, again, either because of this type of relationship of cited or citing, or what we saw before, the recommendations based on BX, based on other people have used these together. Some of these articles, when you look at those, that co-usage, some of them, it's easy to see that, they're in the same topic. I think the more interesting ones are when researchers actually made connections that are interdisciplinary and not exactly the same. What we have here is, let's move back just to the simple search. What we're looking at here is what we call the Primo view. It's basically the end user interface. You can have, as part of Primo, and set up as many of these as you want. You can create one for the law library and one for the music library. You can create one for staff to use and one for researchers to use, and they would each potentially search something else. So you define what it's going to be searching. The way it's set up here is the default is searching only the library catalog, and then you can search only online material and search everything, or only course reserves, or only the music library, the law library. Again, you can kind of slice and dice it in any way you want. Another thing that we have here is actually an add-on that someone wrote, where basically taking the search term that we have here, and this is what I mentioned before on the Primo Studio and the customization. Someone wrote an add-on to take the term here and go out to the Web Archive API, bring back the first, and if you want to go see more results, it will take you to that search term in Archive, in the Web Archive. With that, let's go to, oops, I have to kind of get this down to get there. I want to show you something that we call the collection and discovery. And the collection discovery really is a way, as I mentioned, to present your information in a different way to end user. So many sites do this. Again, it could be for digitized material. It could also be for books on the shelf that they want to expose. And basically, it's very, very easy to set up. All you need to do is within Alma take the bib records that you're interested in, again, whether they're physical, digital, or electronic, but taking the bib records and basically placing them in a logical collection area. So basically putting these together. And then what it allows is the end user to actually see these boxes that you've created. So for example, I can go to, let's go to the collection of manuscript and archive, and then there's additional sub collections. So I can go into, let's go to Thomas Ray papers. So kind of the hierarchy of of three, like digital. Oops, looks like I lost the camera, but I think we're okay. I hope we're okay. And here are the items that are in that level of the hierarchy that we got to. And if I open a book, this happens to be a digitized record. And again, and they manage this record within Alma. And again, from here, you can go and actually go to the viewer. Oops, there's a copyright statement here. And again, and go to the viewer and see that actual material. There might be materials that they don't want to open to the public, and they would lock them for only people that are on campus or signed in or so on. Another thing that this allows you is if you actually happen to find this record elsewhere, you can actually find other records that are in this collection. So let's just go and look at another one here. Let's go back to digital collection and look at exam papers. So they've digitized their exam papers, and let's look at the exam papers for counting. And here's their exam papers. And if I look at this exam paper, then again, these exam papers, they said they're actually locked, only registered staff and student. I guess you have to be signed in order to access it. And you can actually see, and if you actually, this record is also available through their search system. So if you found this record, you will actually see, here's additional thing. You found this record. You might be interested in other records that are actually part of that same collection as well. So again, another way to show your records. I want to just go back a second to that record that I was in before. Let's go back to where I was here, and I wanted to show the services that we mentioned before. So if I sign in, let me sign in. I'm now signing in as an end user. Whoops, I lost that. Let's go back to, let me search for Rising Sun in the library catalog. Again, I could have gone back and started off from Alma. But we want here our record by Johnny Tallender, who changed his name. And let's sign in. I'll sign in here as Fred. And now that Fred has signed in, we can see the different requests that the library allows him. They allow a typical request option, digitization, a purchase request. Again, this is something that is managed in Alma, right? You define what types of materials you allow to get what type of services. So let's just place a regular request. So I get a form, it asks me where I want to pick it up. I'll pick it up in the main library. And again, you can customize the form and put in the fields that are relevant. And let's just send that request. And it was successfully placed. Let's just go now and take a look at the library card. And again, this is really all information that is managed within Alma, because Alma is managing the patron. We're just interacting there to get the information. This is kind of the lobby of the library card, or the overview. I can go in and see my loans, right? I've got a few overdue. Since they're overdue, it won't let me renew them, but otherwise, depending on the policy, I could renew them. And here I've got a bunch of requests. I've got here a bunch of digitization requests that I did in the past, some purchase requests, some were rejected. And here's this request that we just did now. We can leave or cancel. Let's cancel another one. Let's cancel an older one and say, I want to cancel this request. I don't need it anymore. And the request is gone, and it won't be sitting there on the pick list anymore for the staff, as well as fines and fees and so on that I might have interactions with the library. Okay, so with that, let's go back to our presentation. I hope I kind of managed to tie in at least some of the theory that we mentioned before. And go back to here. So what we looked at kind of the management side of things, what you can gain by using a unified system, how we can really reuse the metadata. We don't need to kind of publish data from one side to another. You don't need to learn a new interface. Really, the real time is again much faster. By the way, the same happens with delete, and I think delete is potentially a bigger story, because if you deleted a resource from your ILS, or you say we lost this record, or we no longer subscribe to this, and in that half a day or a day your end user finds it, they will hit a dead end and they will lose faith. If you delete something in Alma here, within 15 minutes it's gone. They won't find it anymore in Primo, and again, less chance of hitting that dead end and losing faith in us, in the library, in the system. We looked at some of the patron services. We looked at some different ways to enhance the discovery experience. Again, whether helping the user find different ways of materials. So that collection discovery is an example, or different recommendations. We didn't so much demo the consortia perspective, but we spoke about it a bit. The impacts here are really allowing you to the day-to-day management of things, again, reducing that to a minimum. This will allow you to go and do other things that really require you to go and think and manage. But really, the setup time of the system and setup time of features is much faster. You saw, adding a local field took minutes. Configuration is really simple, but really it's, managing discovery, doesn't have to be a huge task. It can be much simpler, and it really will allow you to go and do other things that really require you to sit down and think, and other strategic services that you want to develop for your users. We'll leave this here with you. Here's some more resources about where you can find some more information. Again, information about Primo and Alma. If you want to, there's some great videos here explaining some things. All our documentation and training is completely open on the web. You don't have to sign in. You don't have to be a customer. You can go in. You can take a look at the more high-level general things, or if there's a specific area that you want to get more granular and get information, again, feel free to browse and see things there. And of course, request to get more information from us as well. So first thing, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I know you have a lot of things to do, so I appreciate you joining. If any of you have any questions, these might happen the second we disconnect. Feel free to shoot them across. And with that, thank you again, and I hope to see you in real life next time.